Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my first Assetto Corsa Competizione video. Now this is something I want to intend to upload on a more frequent basis. This is actually the rundown of Sundown race that was being held by Weather. It's actually an hour-long race held on a Sunday afternoons, and it's like a 12-hour clock cycle. So say it starts at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on the server time, it will finish at 1 AM in the morning the next day, if that makes sense. Obviously it's only an actual hour in real life, but still the track evolution and the way the tires change massively makes a massive difference into the way that we handle the car. And I had such an exciting race, I really can't wait for you to see it. So let's get straight into it. So here we are then on the formation lap. We're about to come to the end of it and getting straight into the race. We've qualified P6. We didn't have a fantastic qualifying. It's not something I've ever been really good at. But my races is where I tend to be much better. My pace is pretty decent. My consistency is definitely there. Yeah, lol joke. We'll see about that later. But here we go then. So lights are out then. It's green flag. We're coming up towards turn 1. I'm on the outside coming into it. So I've got to make sure that I give enough space. I ran a little bit too wide there, but nothing too drastic. I keep myself very much locked in. Almost going to the gravel, which is very, very close. Hard braking zone here coming into turn 2. I need to make sure that I'm not turning in too much because obviously there's a car on my inside, which is Roms. He manages to hold on to P5 for now, almost going to the back of him there. He just gets a little bit early on the brakes. I'm a little bit late, and that was almost a collision, but disaster averted. Nothing to worry about just yet. So we're settling in. It's an hour-long race. We're only lap 1. We don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. We just need to keep the consistency, keep the pace pretty nice. Don't go too fast. That starts to burn the tires away. They obviously need to warm up, and I can and I have to pit. So the one rule they have in this is that there has to be a tire swap. You can't refuel, but there has to be a tire swap. So now if you look behind me, you can see there's a car that just runs off a little bit too hard, gets off into the gravel, and almost finds himself buried into a wall. So that's a little bit of pressure alleviated from my shoulders there. Wesley is obviously closing in on me a little bit too, so I've got to keep my eyes still locked on my mirrors, still locked on my little rear view cam I've got there on the right, but I do still want to focus eyes forward on the wrong side. So coming towards the end of the first lap, I've only got a couple of corners left to go, and things have been pretty good. I really can't complain on how my first lap has gone. Definitely a couple of mistakes, but as first laps go, pretty good. So Madav is currently leading this race, and that was always going to be the case. He's probably the fastest out of all this year, but he seems to lack a little bit when it comes to consistency. So we jump forward just a little bit further on the second lap now, and you can see that our good friend Ruben just runs off onto the grass there. He makes a mistake, and I get a bit distracted by it, not really paying attention to my lines because I'm so focused on what he was doing that I just understeered the car a little bit, then oversteered it, and I had to catch the car straight afterwards. So I lost a little bit of time here to Rom, so I'm now 1.2 seconds behind him, and things are not looking too good. So he's going forward a few more laps. It did take me a little while to try and bring that gap just back. Again, right into his tow range. Obviously, no DRS in these. This is Assetto Corsa, so look for the inside. No opportunity just yet. He's closing the door as well. He knows I'm coming for him, so I cannot blame him for doing what he did. But I got to try and see my opportunities to take him. He gets a little bit too early on the turn in there, and he runs a little bit wide and slows himself down. I made a little bit of a mistake, also get on the grass there as well, and that just kind of matched it out a little bit. So we're both about equal times, 3/10 apart, still pushing, not backing out of this fight ever. Had a pretty solid exit, but nothing really came of it, and so we jump forward now to 7 laps in. This is obviously the beginning of lap 8. I'm starting to feel a lot more comfortable, starting to feel a lot more confident in the car, really starting to understand how the Ferrari wants to attack the bronze hatch. I didn't get any practice in for this, and then I make a mistake, just carried a bit too much momentum through, the back end stepped out, and that caused me to lose a lot of time. Look at that massive timeout. So we are trying to recover even more, but just more mistakes being made, and Ruben has managed to recover his race and get right onto the tail of me, and again, a little bit too much on that curb on the inside. Causes instability. Ruben actually has to do evasive action just to make sure he doesn't hit me, which was good for me. It meant I managed to avoid it, and there's a back marker just parked off the edge of the circuit there. Not sure exactly what he was doing. Not going to complain. No damage for me. Again, we jump forward some more laps as I'm trying to break the gap from Ruben behind me, but also close the gap in on Roms ahead of me, who's actually had a pretty solid race. No real mistakes from his perspective. But I just have that little bit more pace than he does. So I'm slowly creeping this back in. A little bit too many mistakes has actually allowed Ruben to get the inside one through the final corner, and I brake just a bit early to ensure that he gets through and we don't go side by side into turn 1, because that's not going to help anybody. Ruben manages to move himself and now up into effective P5. I fall into P6. I tried to just close in a little bit through that corner, but I couldn't really do anything there. There was nowhere for me to go. He was always going to get that position. So here we go, on lap 13 now. Big mistakes been made again. That is P12, as it says, car number 14. Making more mistakes. He's really struggling in this race. He could not get it together at all. He was just making mistakes left, right and centre. Falling off the track, spinning the car, and there's one point in fact where he actually turns himself into a bit of a Beyblade, which managed to avoid. He almost goes into Ruben. I panicked a little bit there and thought he was going to come across me, but no, he moves back over, lets me through. The job is a good one, as they say. Coming towards the end of that lap then, we are now on the home stretch, looking to initiate some manoeuvres is Ruben. Rom says clearly had a bad exit there, and that's actually allowed Ruben to look for an outside line and maybe come for a cutback back in again. He's trying it, just hasn't got the momentum. He's not quite close enough to be able to make that move stick. This has now allowed me to have a little look down the inside. No, a bit too late for me to even think about doing anything like that, but we're patient. We buy our time and just take it easy and see what Ruben's got to deliver. Ruben runs a little bit wide, doesn't quite touch the grass, he's very near, so I'm still right up his backside, see an inside line, trying to fake it, make him get a bit more pressured and see if he can make any mistakes, but Ruben's better than that. He knows how to handle these sort of situations. He's experienced in this field. And there's a massive mistake there from one of the drivers. That was Madhav, who actually made a huge mistake. We'll see here now on the helicopter cam. This is him now coming through that uphill left-hander. He just gets a bit too wide, hits the curb, bounces off of it, loses control of the car, pinballs off the wall there. He's very much off the track, and then for whatever reason decides rejoining is safest, and 3 cars, me included, had to dive and dodge out of the way. We just about make it, and no carnage and damage for anybody. So now I am P4, looking to close in again now on Ruben. Ruben is doing pretty well here. He's actually held off. Now Robson is behind us. The reason being he did actually decide to pit. This is actually one of the back markers again, just getting out of the way. Kind of being a little bit of a pain, but I'm not going to complain. He gave me the toe. He allowed me to just slip past him nice and easy, so we're all good. So yeah, Romser, pit. He's going out a lap behind us. We have also going to wait and buy that time a little bit more. Ruben and I both made a mistake in that corner. We tried to get momentum, because we're really pushing to try and close in on what is race leader and P2 Hansen as well, but we just, I don't know, I think our ambition was a bit bigger than our driver's skill, and yeah, we both just lost control of the car through that area, and neither of us gained any time on anybody there. Skipping again now up to lap 18, we are halfway through the lap already, and I'm making mistakes. I get that curve a bit too much, and we've had a big first spin, managed to avoid the wall though, that was very close. Didn't even stall the car as well, so top marks for keeping that one going. And yeah, we lost a lot of time, but you know, no damage, didn't stall. I think as all things considered when it comes to a spin, that was probably the best scenario I could have hoped for. So recovery mode is definitely initiated now. We have spent a good few laps trying our best to bring it back in. I was really pushing, so much in fact, again, the same corner, lost control of the car, but this time I couldn't stop myself from stalling. I did end up in the gravel, needed to restart the engine again, and then finally go a little bit of an unsafe rejoin, but no harm was done. Everyone sort of gets away okay. There was only really Madhav that I needed to worry about. Yeah, this is not good. I'm losing places, losing time, losing positions. Things need to improve and quick. So there's Wezer, who is now a back marker at this point. He's had contact, he's had damage, he's been into the pits, he's had a drive through. He's really not had a fun race. So I just quickly get past him, and he's not going to hold me back at all. And now just recovery mode, that's all it could be here. I needed to try and get more pace out of the car, but again, just losing control once more, getting off onto that grass. And again, you know, I'm not going to try and make excuses. You know, the wind was blowing in the wrong direction, the sunlight, well, now you can see the sun's in my eyes. And also the car just felt a little bit unstable. Zero practice, and I'll get my list of excuses out. But now it's time to pit. So 25 laps done. Get myself into the pit lane as the sun is starting to set. The tyre temperatures, the tyre pressures are going to drop. We've been in, we swapped our tyres, we came straight on back out again, and we rejoin down the field. We know we've got a lot of work to do because we've had two major spins, one pretty bad off with a good catch to bring it back. So if I'm going to try and get anything out of this race, I'm going to have to really buck my ideas up and give it a good push. We skip further forward, just a couple of laps, and obviously you can see, with it being a 12-hour cycle and just a 1-hour race, the weather and the time and the temperatures changed dramatically. So nighttime fell very quickly in 2 hours. There's a back marker there, that's Mr. Krabs getting out of the way. He is in dead last place. He's also had a pretty rough race to go with it. And again, coming into this, we needed to bring it in. We've done a very good job of being consistent. You can see now there, a lot of dirt marks there. That's actually Romser, who's been off and brought himself back onto the circus. We're going to have a look just to see exactly what happened to him here. He's got Ruben on his back, trying to pressure him. He just runs a bit wide, gets on the grass, and he knows if he breaks there, he's going to turn into a bit of a blade, so he decides against it. He's just going to let the car roll over the hill and just bring himself back on again, but he loses a ridiculous amount of time, which allows me to start pressuring him. And now I'm getting excited, thinking there's more than just a podium on the cards here. I could actually potentially get a P2 out of this. We fast forward, because pretty much the next couple laps is just me hunting Romser down, praying to God that I can get this position snatched away from him. It felt like Ruben was a bit too far ahead for me to be able to really, you know, take that race win. So my focus was now just, let's just get P2 and let's just see where the race takes us. So continuing to fast forward throughout here, no really any mistakes from either driver. I was a little bit faster than Rom, so I found some areas where he was struggling when it came to maintaining pace and momentum, and I noticed that he was faster than me in the first sector, but then the remaining two sectors I was much faster than he was, and I just found so much more pace, and I was able to carry that momentum all the way through, especially in the uphill right-hander. That was the bit where he was struggling the most. I noticed that throughout this period, and he seemed to go really wide on that downhill left-hander before you come to the final corner. So, you know, I was just reading his driving, trying to assess what he was doing wrong, and here we go. So, resuming the action, lap 34. We've only got a few laps to go before this race is over, and Ruben's been off. He's been onto the gravel, and you can see the dirt marks were there. He's now very close indeed. So not only is P2 available, we've now got a race win potentially on our hands, and Romser can smell blood too, and there's a little bit of contact. That's actually pushed Ruben onto the grass as well, but no damage on either car. Maybe a bit of bodywork has gone, but other than that, everything else is still pretty fine. And, you know, whenever somebody has a contact like that, you start to think they're going to start mentally breaking. And this is where I start to want to pounce, and I'm the one who breaks, and I'm the one who gets a bit wide, gets onto the grass, grits onto the gravel, but I didn't spin and I didn't stall. So still in this fight, but I've lost a lot of time, and we do not have a lot of laps left to go in this race. So skip forward just slightly, only a couple of corners, and you can see Roms is looking for Ruben, trying to find the inside line. He's got it. Ruben's made a mistake, and that's allowed him to just slip on into race lead, and I'm trying to find a way as well, and I go deep into the corner, back onto the brakes, beautifully in towards turn 2. But I make a mistake. I lose control of the car, and Ruben slips on back in again, and I just feel like every time I made a move, I always followed it up with a mistake, and what could have been had I had more practice is all I kept thinking throughout this entire race. So, you know, we're not out of this. We're not quitters. We keep going. We fast forward a little bit as we now chasing our way up against the back of Ruben. Ruben's obviously hunting for P1 as well. So we're both sweaty at this point. We're both very excited for the end of this race to see what we can achieve. But we also can see the clock ticking away. We do not have a lot of time to go. And we have to get in this and get that. We don't want a podium. We want the win. We're both greedy. You know, we want the whole shebang. And what racer doesn't, you know? So P3 was still going, lap 35, lap 36, coming up into the final corner, and again slightly further ahead. This is where I started to feel much more confident. Carrying the pace through this corner was much easier. Ruben was starting to feel his way as well. He gets onto the grass, and that's sending him off. Look, off into the gravel, almost goes into the wall. He keeps himself out of the barrier, and that means he can continue in his quest for a solid podium position. We have a massive gap to the guy in P4, so we know that this is battle for the podium unless one of us has a massive crash. But now I'm free. I'm P2, and I can just see the race win right there in a very juicy red and white Ferrari. And I want it. I'm hungry. I'm thirsty, and I want the whole thing. So let's go. Lap 39, lap 40. We're really, really committed to getting this. We do not want to back out of this at all. I'm looking for the inside line. I'm scaring Romser into making a mistake. He doesn't want to make a mistake. You can see, and I get the exit I need. I'm alongside of it. This is a drag race now. Come up into the uphill right-hander, just down this hill. So down the hill we go. back up the hill to the right-hander, I'm going to have to back out here because he's got such a tight line. The only place he can do is go wide. So he does exactly that. I back out just to allow him through, but I want to keep the pressure on him. I don't want him to feel comfortable even slightly. And again, remembering what I saw earlier on a few laps before, he makes mistakes coming up into this upward right-hander. He doesn't quite maintain the pace he needs to. And look at this, I'm closing in. I can smell blood, I can see a gap, and I'm gonna send it straight down the inside onto the curb. I get the exit I need exactly right, and Romster's there alongside me. You can't quite see him from this perspective, but I'm just drag racing him into the final corner, giving him just about enough room, but he backs out, and now I'm able to continue as is. Hunting through on the home straight, charging all along, and all I'm going to do here is just maintain as much pace as I can. We're going to switch to the helicopter cam here just to replay that overtake. You can see Romster just very wide coming into this. I see a window, I snatch it away, and he clearly recognizes I made a boo-boo. Rwaggy's going to take this, and he's still with me. He's still got his nose in there, but he knows I'm just a bit too far ahead, and he has to back out. And now Ruben, he joins this battle for the race win here. He's trying to recover what he lost when he made that mistake earlier in the race. So we're going to stay with Romster now as we watch the final lap of this Grand Prix. I am sweating trying to keep this race lead because I know that I've made a lot of mistakes in this race. I've not had a perfect race at all. And, you know, even one mistake now could not just lose me P1, but I could also lose P2 to go with it. Romster is sticking with us. He's keeping himself nice and tight, but he's making mistakes too because he's pressing really hard. And Ruben smells blood. He's a shark in these very, very nice waters with some juicy fish ready to be eaten alive. And here he comes, chasing him down, and the downhill, looking for an uphill run as well if he can get it. He's just a bit too far back to make any moves here. He's going to have to hang in and maybe go for the move that I did if he sees the same thing I saw. A little bit of a mistake there from Romster. Gets onto the grass. It does slow him down a little bit as we pass a back marker who's very much on the grass, just keeping out of the way. He doesn't want anything to do with this fight. And Ruben, he's trying to replicate exactly what I did. He sees the momentum. He tries to carry it through. Romster realized what his mistake was last time. He comes a little bit tighter than before. Gets onto the apex just nicely. He gets the exit that he needed in order to secure P2. Ruben is just way too far back now to even think about getting a race win. The only way you can get it is if Romster makes a mistake, which he does not do. And here I come across the line to take the win. And of course, in true GT3 fashion, you've got to flash your lights to say, I'm the winner, you're the loser. GG, well played. What a fantastic race that was. And I look forward to bringing you more of these. So if you did like it, make sure you hit the thumbs up button, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and tell all your friends and family, and I'll get more of these uploaded in the future.